fellow creatures of the internet, this is the most must-see and subscribe Argonian on YouTube and the online ambassador of Black Marsh. And in case, I pretty much see that if you haven't subscribed, you must have clicked onto this video because you just typed in something like how to deal with my kids' fear of mascots, or how to deal with my kids' fear of furries or whatnot. And the reason that you have done it is perhaps that you have encountered a furry in a non-convention hotel that basically possibly is an overstay and all that because they couldn't get a room at the Cons Hotel, and you are pretty much in the Gold Coast to take your kids to, say, SeaWorld, Wet and Wild Water World and whatnot. If you're not at the Goldie or whatever, and if you say in Florida or something like that, during probably that you met some other fursuiters there, and then all of a sudden you have to introduce your kid to a fursuiter, and it just seems that's because that they are scared of meeting us and meeting people in these costumes. And maybe it's probably a natural instinct. So you're in luck, despite the fact that I'm no psychiatrist or psychologist or pediatrician. I'm just going to talk to you about my experiences and what I have researched about this fear, which is, in the medical world, is called mascophobia. So here is some of the ways that you would deal with such fear of mascots and fursuiters, or mascophobia. The first strategy that I probably would suggest is, well, if you're in the area, maybe, I know for sure that's quite the obvious, right? Because if you're in Queensland and when you're like always such a thing, I probably would suggest that the first thing that you would do is to take them out to such theme parks such as Movie World, SeaWorld, and Dreamworld. Now, I know for sure that it would be on your itinerary, or if you're in such a place with those holiday destinations and all that kind of stuff, like Florida, and there's some like megaplexes going on, maybe take them out to a theme park like Universal Studios or Disneyland. Like, I know that I'm pointing out your itinerary and all that kind of stuff. Yes, I highly recommend it, because you see, the reason why that you would take those kids, one of the reasons, is so they can actually meet their favorite characters. Whether it's Mickey Mouse, whether it's Bugs Bunny, whether it's, you know, whether it's Hiccup or whether it's Toothless or whatever. I wouldn't blame you for that, because the thing about it is, just let your kids meet their favorite characters, because you see, I know for a fact being is that kids have been brought into things like stranger danger and all that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, right? It may be a good strategy for that, because you don't know what people are like. You know, because there's some really dodgy people or creeps out there that abducts kids and all that kind of stuff. Even though that we are not we are not those type of people, and I know that we furries don't associate ourselves with those type of people. We usually shun them. But you see, the thing about us furries is that, well, yes, we are cosplayers, but to be honest with you, our characters or our personas or whatever may not be, we dress up as our own characters, basically. Another thing that I wanted to bring up, which is number 2, is that if you end up encountering us furries and all that kind of stuff, we are people that are dressed in these costumes. I mean, that is partly the reason why that I'm having my human hands just breaking the magic, because just to prove the point that we are humans inside these costumes. But I mean, even though that we may not be dressed up as characters familiar to the kids, or familiar to social media, maybe that your kid might have watched their favorite furry YouTubers or their favorite YouTubers and think of them as living and walking plushies, you know. So just think of us as those type of things, as those walking, breathing plushies and all that kind of stuff. Or better yet, people like to come to me and that on my experience, and they say, well, they think of me as a dinosaur or a dragon. So it's really a good idea to to know your kids' interests, like in animals and all that kind of stuff. Because I know for sure that people say that I'm a dinosaur, and in a way that I am, you know, I just explain that I am, or dragon, you know. I let the kids come to me, you know. I don't force myself into kids, and I like to act cute, you know, just interact with them, give them high fives, post some photos, you know. And that is the thing that I really do like about being a furry, and especially being a fursuiter like myself, is that I like to bring this sort of magic that, you know, bring my character to life and all that kind of stuff. But when you're your character, you tend to share your love of what you do, your love of a furry fandom and all that kind of stuff. So, but I do get that that there are kids that's been crying because their parents have been forcing their kids onto me. People see me as a very scary monster type dinosaur, but at the same time, Bruzo is basically more of a that I like to. I mean, I'm not meant to be that scary, you know. I'm meant to be like a friendly character, some character that you wouldn't mind, you know, meeting and all that kind of stuff. Basically, I intend Bruzo as a superhero, and I like to, you know, like I don't really scare off kids. I like to act the part, you know. But the thing about it is that I'm not such a jerk for it. I'm not being a jerk towards the kids. So I don't force myself onto the kids. So saying that, I know for a fact that I'm not really a babysitter. I don't go out babysitting your kids and all that kind of stuff. So one thing to say is that if it is really cute to have photos and all that kind of stuff with with your kid with the furry, like if they are a dog or a fox or a dragon and all that kind of stuff, right? Maybe that you might have seen us in the street and all that kind of stuff, just walking around, just minding our own business. The point that I'm trying to say is that, well, if you want your kid to get over the mascophobia, is do not force them onto us, because it's not good on our behalf. But just think of like little Jimmy or little Susan and all that kind of stuff. You know, if they're, just forcing your kids down there. They may not want a photo with me and all that kind of stuff. And that's fine, I do respect that. But you are being counterproductive to their coping skills around furries and mascots and all that kind of stuff. If you just force them, push them onto me, just so you can have a photo. Okay? Whatever you do, just for my sake and for theirs, please don't force your kids onto us. Because the fact being is that it is very awkward on us, and not to mention that it's going to scar them even further. And if your kids aren't really afraid of us and whatever stuff, that's great. You know, I do appreciate the interaction, not on my behalf, but for the kids' behalf, because maybe that's, even though that I wanted to give the your kids the best possible experience being around a furry like myself, and many of us furries are the same, that we want to get, even though that we are dressing up as our characters, dressing up the characters that we have the great emotional attachment to, that we are there, sometimes there to share our characters and our personas to the entire living world, to the entire universe that we're in here now. We don't really intend to scare the kid, you know, or probably hope not. Yeah, sure, we'll probably end up being in character, but still. Another strategy that you could probably would do is, well, and this is what some other YouTuber that I've just watched, where this person is doing a video on how to deal with your fear of mascots and all that kind of stuff, is, well, maybe just purchase a couple of masks, you know, from probably some entry-level masks such as eBay, Amazon, Wish, Temu, and all that kind of stuff. I know for sure that I don't really I know for sure that ironically I'm against with the marketing the furries and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time they are a very handy entryway to get into fursuiting, and that's the thing that I really do recommend for your kids. You know, just let them play with some of the masks and that. Maybe get a fursuit head, or probably a mask of your kid's favorite animal. Just tell them what animal that they want to be, besides being a human, or what animal that they like. You know, get your son or daughter a dino mask if they wanted to be a dragon or some sort of reptile and all that kind of stuff, because some of them are very more entry level and all that kind of stuff. Maybe just I don't know, just encourage your kids to even create their character with their mask and all that kind of stuff. You know, maybe play around with get your kids to play around with them, try them on and all that kind of stuff. You know, help your kids to even make such costumes. Just get them to that we are not as bad people that your son or kids with mastophobia fear. We're just people. The point is that we're just people that enjoy hobbies like them. Maybe if your kids want to, maybe that your kids might end up being furries themselves, you know. And if they end up being furries, then encourage them. Because encourage them to be furries. Just take them out public suiting. Maybe just go out, just take them to all-age cosplay events, or if possible, all-age furry conventions so they can meet like-minded people like us. Maybe encourage them, and who knows, they'll probably end up playing with us and probably interact with us and all that kind of stuff. At least in a clean way anyway, but still, and it would end up getting to that point that they want to be like us. So, and if they are being like us, please don't disown them. Please, please, please. If you're a parent that is just watching this, please support them. Being furries. You know, because the thing about it is that if you do support them being furries, they'll eventually end up, like, that is the accomplishment that you'd of your son and daughter getting over their mascophobia. Another thing that you could probably try is that, well, maybe just take them out to a sporting event, you know, and I don't know if they have a favorite team, you know, basketball, football, soccer, you know. Maybe another thing is that, well, maybe just, you know, give your child, like, if it's up to your child, and if your child consent, then let your child end up eventually meeting the mascot of their team. You know, I can help you on this and all that kind of stuff. You know, so I know for sure that this is like, I know for sure that I did my research on this subject. So maybe that's, and I probably would know some of the ways that I could actually recommend that you'd probably would cope. But like I said, I'm not even a parent. I'm not even a child expert. So anyway, this is where you, the viewer of this video, comes into the topic, because you would be more trained in helping the kids that would end up going over mascophobia or fear of mascots and fursuiters. Maybe you can just help me out, and why don't you just put down what other ways that parents could do to help their child, to help their kid to get over the mascophobia or fear of mascots. Okay? Your advice will be more better. Also, if you do like this video, and if you think this video does help, even though that is best to my ability, because this video is unscripted, then you're more than welcome to leave a like. Probably consider subscribing to this channel, because you're awesome if you do, and it would help me out more to grow my channel. Also, if you have, and that is if you are just a parent that clicked onto this video, if you have already, and if you wanted to be the first person to know, make sure you click that bell icon and turn notifications on, so you will be the first one to know. If you want to follow me on social media, my gamer tag is, there's some other ways to follow me and possibly donate to this channel if there is, so I'm not quite sure. Also, if you want to friend me on Tamriel or friend me on PSN or whatever, or play your game with me or whatever, or my gamer tag is Bruzo21. Thank you to all my subscribers, my current ones, and to each of you that have watched this video, because I'm hoping that this video might help you. Even though I do welcome feedback as well. And as always, thank you for watching. You're all amazing. I love you. And as always, may the guide you all. Bye for now. I just wanted to give out this disclaimer saying that the lighting of the recording of this video is not really that much intentional, nor it was editing, because of the fact being. But however, it is because of the lighting technique that I end up using, which didn't really feel like, it doesn't sort of look like the way they turned out to be. But either way, I just wish that the video would help you regardless. And if you have any complaints about it, well, I'm really sorry about the lighting, but like I said,